Beat Retreat.
Yeah.
That's one of the most significant displays of the band on campus each and every year. What
Sure.
exactly is the Beat Retreat? Why is it an important event for the regimental band?
Okay, Beating Retreat dates back to the 16th century, 17th century, when troops used to be out in Holland, okay, and they would send drummers out to beat retreat, so them to come back in for the night and come into the barracks area. That's where the beating retreat. And it became elaborated into a bigger military ceremony. We put it together, believe it or not, after induct, which is only 2 weeks, we go slam bang into rehearsals for beat retreat, okay? And I've already been writing, I write music for it, and I've been writing all winter. That's my job, okay? I have to supply those notes, as I keep on saying. So the bottom line is, when the students come back in here, we go flying into this thing, and the music's all set. What happens is the parents come, and it's a very patriotic ceremony. Not only do the drummers show off their drum beatings and calisthenics on drums, but the entire band does regimental music. There's nothing more passionate than music. Aristotle said, music is the most important thing to stir the soul. And you want to watch the looks on the parents and the looks on our alums when they hear us playing Tapp's Eternal Father, or Stars and Stripes Forever, or one of our midshipmen are featured singing or playing an instrument. They really respond to this, and the band does too. The band rises to the occasion. And when we're doing those shows, I will say that any band in America would have difficulty coming up to the standard of our midshipmen.
I agree. I agree. I actually had a chance to see it for the first time just this past year, 2010 fall, and I thought it was absolutely remarkable. And we'll be highlighting that specifically so that people can see a lot of the fanfare here shortly on our channel here.
Speaking of fanfare, not to interrupt, but we have a magnificent set of fanfare trumpets. I mean magnificent. And all pitches, bass fanfares, tenor fanfares, and E-flat high, E-flat fanfare. And these fanfares go all over the place. We are, this year we played for the 2 President Bushes. The first time they ever appeared together in public, the next time it was at the World Series, by the way, when it was Texas.
Texas, yeah.
That's right. We have pictures of our midshipmen with the 2 Bushes. What an honor that was, okay? And then the year before we played for President Clinton with the fanfares. And then we go down to Washington to do the Salute to Congress dinner at the Congressional Country Club. I mean, you want to see our midshipmen, their eyes are popping out as we're playing for all the great politicians of the country and so on and so forth, representing the maritime industry. The problem with the Macy Parade is that it interferes with Thanksgiving. All right? On top of that, it's we have a sea year change. So it is really difficult for us to do Macy. The nice part about all this is that Macy wants us, okay? So it tells you if we hadn't been a very superior organization, they certainly wouldn't have taken us, okay? Down the road, I think we'll probably do Macy again, okay? And I just want to tell everyone who's interested, you rehearse for Macy at Macy's at 12 midnight.
Oh, wow.
That's when they get their camera angles. So you're up all through the night.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really an experience.
Wow.
So, but I think down the road we'll do a parade like that again. We have probably 80 to 100 requests a year on the band, easily, probably more. Which unfortunately, because of academics, schedules, sea year, whatever, we can't take what we'd like to take. And once again, we're near New York, and every group in the world has a parade. Whatever your background is, it's got a parade in New York.
Absolutely. You're not kidding about that, especially as the weather starts to break here. Now, freshmen have it rough enough the initial 3 weeks during their time here, learning how to march, wear the uniform, how to salute, what's what, who's who. And then you add the band on top of that. Having a parade to put together in 3 weeks with these young people that are coming in some cases for the first time ever dealing with anything military. And to put a production for the formal indoctrination parade, how does that transition over the course of that very small, brief period of time?
Okay, well, I was very lucky in my life. I joined the Ringling Brothers Circus at 16 years old. And I learned very quickly on the circus that the horn doesn't lie. Okay, I was in the band. And bottom line of what we do here is just similar to a circus. Leadership is leading, not talking about it. Forget about talking about it. You talk, you're not leading. And the bottom line of this thing is that right off the get-go, I don't take any nonsense, and the midshipmen don't. The leaders of the band, the midshipmen leaders, we are right there, dedicated, and a young person coming in is almost shocked after they used to high school where you had a nice hour every day to rehearse and you did this and that. Not here. Everything is, you will get focused, get focused. My biggest word to young people is focus, focus. Focus on what we're doing in the here and now. And when you're throwing a lot at them, you'd be amazed. They have brains to get into the school. They got brains enough to focus. And they do. I mean, it just pulls people up when they see their upperclassmen who are doing this. And some of these upperclassmen, remember, came here and never played an instrument in their lives. And all of a sudden, they're the cymbal players, and they're twirling, and they're doing this and that. When you see it, the visual, huh? Once again, I go back to Aristotle when he said the soul doesn't think without a picture. And I truly believe that. They get the picture of leadership, whether it be from me, who is very demanding. I haven't got time to compliment people. That's not where I'm coming from. I expect you to do this, okay? But the bottom line is, you will do it, okay? And they, at first, well, they'll grumble and mumble, and they, he's too tough, he's this, that, and the other. Guess what? That's showbiz. Okay?
Yes.
Okay? A show business, you got to be dedicated and you got to be right there. And in that mix, they see other midshipmen studying and getting grades and even going out and doing underwater basket weaving if that's their sport. I don't care what it is. Doing all this. And we always say, don't take on more than you can chew, but be focused on what you do.
Yes. Okay. You talked about a little bit of your credentials. And the Ringling Brothers and Barney Circus.
Right.
What else have you been involved in your career? If I'm a young person, I say, okay, what he's saying sounds great, but what is his background?
Well, to be frank about it, I came out of the streets of New York. I mean, that's the truth. I went to a 6-room wooden elementary school in the city of New York, which was really amazing. And I joined the circus, and I went to a very huge high school, Jamaica High, which had 6,000 students, all kinds of, what a mixture of people. And then I went in the Army and played in the 1st Army Band, went to the School of Music. And then one night, we were called down to the, and this is for young people, when they get a dream. I suppose Dr. King used to say that. When I had a dream speech, he was right. I was standing at the dock at Governor's Island, and they said, you have to play 3 British bands in. And all of a sudden, I heard on the ferry as it landed, this is 12 midnight. We're down there playing, dun, 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 as loud as we can, dun, 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 Colonel Bogey. All of a sudden, the ferry docked, and I heard this for the first time. By the center, quick march! And off this ferry came the band of Her Majesty's Royal Marines with the white pith helmets, and they played so softly you could hear their feet march. And I said, I was 18 years old, and I said to myself, I'll never forget, I said, I'm going to build that in this country. It's the last thing I do. And from that point to the right now to this moment, my course was set. I knew where I wanted to go, I knew what I wanted to do, and thank God that Kings Point provided, just like Portchester, the place where it could happen. Kings Point is a place of dreams. If you are smart, don't complain. You know, Dale Carnegie was a great one who said, don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Yes, if you don't get into that culture of complaint, if you are man enough or woman enough to be out there and live that dream and wait for that moment when the dream is handed to you, by God, you can do anything. Right now, we all know Mark Kelly, the astronaut, came to Kings Point. All right? The most famous astronaut probably that we've had since the people that went to the moon. Hey, he's a Kings Pointer. I have people out of this band that are in the top-notch jobs today, own their own companies, they're captains, they're engineers. One of my students, Bob Noizu, he's in charge of all power in Connecticut. Every time there's a problem in Connecticut, I think of Bob Noizu. He was a horrible trombone player. Bob was a Bob, if you hear this, forgive me. But he was the worst. But you know what? He loved engines. He was in love with engines. He lived down at that Emery Rice engine and putting that together. And Bob, you just loved him. And he single-handedly, by the way, the Jeremiah O'Brien, the San Francisco Liberty ship, went across the Atlantic, and the Coast Guard tried to stop it at first because the lifeboats' engines weren't working. And Bob had left the school. Admiral Tom Patterson got him out there. Before his graduation, he single-handedly fixed those lifeboats and the engines. And as a result, that ship went across the Atlantic 11 knots, which is mighty slow, as it had in World War II, and was one of 2 ships at D-Day that had been there 50 years before. Thankful for one of our midshipmen. Band. Huh? We'll make them something they can't play trombone.
Now, what else? I know you've written a lot of different types of music.
This is, I just brought this over. This is the State of New York commissioned me to do a cantata on the life of Dr. Martin Luther King. and I was honored to do it. It was a lot of research. You know, when I was on a circus, I learned something. Here were the words, okay? The horn doesn't lie. In music, you can talk a great game, but brother, you better know what you're doing, even if it's playing cymbals, okay? And when I did a cantata on Dr. King, I realized that all the words in music that were put through with all these pages, I had to know the history, I had to study his life, I had to study the music surrounding his life to write this, because this was going all over the state of New York and eventually around the country. Okay. Then they asked me to do one on the life of the inauguration in 1789 of President George Washington. And I wrote that for the state of New York. That was a huge commission. And right now I'm involved with the composer Morton Gould. I've been asked by the Gould family, his birthday is in 2013, and I have been asked to represent Gould all across America and make sure this music gets played. He's one of the great American composers, Morton Gould. He lived a few towns away. I was a trumpet player. When I left the Army and went to Manhattan School of Music, I was a trumpet player, did freelancing all over the place, including Radio City Music Hall, a million Broadway shows I was doing, subbing here, subbing there, in this show, that show. I was in Fair Lady, New Girl in Town, Damn Yankees, so this goes on and on. I don't even, there were so many. I was doing club dates and bar mitzvahs and playing jazz and playing Italian feasts, and it was a whole life of music. And in my mind, though, was that British band. Remember what I said about that Royal Marine Band? That was in my mind. And so at Manhattan School of Music, I started to write and correspond with all these British military band directors. And they answered back, and I went to Britain and studied it, went to Royal Marine School of Music, and I wrote my master's thesis on British military bands. And at the time, you didn't do that in conservatories. It was all Bach, Brahms, and Beethoven and Mahler. So I got called in by the president of Manhattan School of Music, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to be fired. They're going to get, they're never going to graduate. And his name was Dr. John Brownlee, a very distinguished gentleman who was a great Don Giovanni in the Met. And this is what he said to me. He said, Kenneth, I happened to read your master's thesis on British military bands. He said, you know, when I was a band boy in Australia, I was in a boys' brass band. And I can't say it around here because all they like is orchestras. He said, but I love that master's thesis. Remind me of my youth. Thank you for writing it. And I thought that was the nicest thing, a man of his stature calling me in. And so I proceeded to go on and continue my professional career. Kings Point, being close to New York, allows you to do that, as long as it didn't interfere with my career here. Also, I do a lot of writing for military bands in America and for high school bands and what have you. Okay. So it's a very fruitful career. I have no complaints. One other thing I always tell people, you might have noticed my cane going. I had a problem with a virus in my central nervous system. The reason why I bring it up, I'm sort of handicapped. And this is played into leadership of midshipmen. The midshipmen, because I can't march anymore, they go out on that field, it's their band, they own it, they direct it. Wow. Now, they don't even want me around because I criticize them too much. But
I believe that.
Oh, I'm murderous. But the bottom line is, they are so happy. They get, every morning, they conduct. I don't conduct. Everything is midshipman leadership. That's what this band is about. Midshipmen, I may give them the ideas, put them in a direction, but by God, they got to carry it out. And that's the game with this band.
Now, one thing we didn't mention and touch on is I'm with the Glee, that new phenomenon that's out.
Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right.
I'm a member. I sing. I'm a member of the chorus, or I want to carry that over to my time here at Kings Point. How can I involve myself with the regiment?
Okay. Right now, we are in limbo concerning the chorus. Okay, we had a magnificent chorus here, but they sang many years ago sea shanties and old sailing music and so on. While there's a place for that, there's not a place for only that to be. Okay, the show Glee, which you're talking about, absolutely is true. This country is a phenomenal interest in show choirs. Students go to colleges because of show choirs, even though they're majoring in something else. So my dream is to return to have that kind of a program here. We had a wonderful director for a while, and I hope we get another one. But whoever we get, I want that to return, because I realize very distinctly it's an important part. We have midshipmen who call me up and say, "What do you have shows you do?" Theatricals, as ways students blow off smoke. Yes. Okay, the stress, the pressure. The theater is what these students are crying for. They love it, okay? The problem we have here is lack of time. So hopefully there'll be some revisions so it will allow us to move in that direction, because that's the way of the future. We are going to have students saying, just like you, I want to sing.
Yes.
Okay? And they should be singing. I mean, we need that. Once again, I'll give you a quote, and I'll never forget this. When I was taking elementary methods or something, and it stuck in my head. This woman who was teaching it said, remember this, if you remember nothing about elementary music. And she said this, a singing school is a happy school. And she's absolutely right. And hopefully we can get this place and the academy back to where it was musically in that area. And that's my dream, to get that back. And I'm sure the superintendent feels the same way.
Yes. And even in the absence, you did have Midshipman Jones.
Oh, we've got kids in the band. Absolutely. I can't say kids there. They're adults. We have some midshipmen here who are singers of such a high quality that they could be in Juilliard, the Manhattan School of Music, and this is the quality. I mean, they come out of fantastic choral programs. So I write solos for them. I'll write, right now we have Natalie Jones here, who's just a wonderful female. We've had Erin Gant down from Washington. Erin is a African-American vocalist who, believe me, she was all over New York. She was singing in every hotel. I worried about her academically because everybody wanted Erin Gant. Yes. I mean, she was just a wonderful young lady. The only thing I didn't like about Erin Gant was one thing. Okay, I got to give you an Erin Gant. This is like why working with Midshipman is such a wonderful.
Erin, I hope you're not watching.
Erin, don't watch this. I asked her in one of my tattoos. You see the military tattoos like the British, huge shows here. And I was doing a big Irving Berlin number, and being out of the circus, I think in circus terms. So I said, you know, I want to do blue skies, I want to build you a big moon, you sit in the moon, and we're going to raise you to the ceiling of O'Hara Hall, which is a big, huge ceiling, goes up a lot of feet. And she looked at me, and I'll never forget it. It's the only time in my life she ever said no. And she looked at me, just booth-faced, and she said, no. And I still kid her about that when I see her. Okay.
Yes. All right. Now, last but not least, if a student is interested in learning more about participating in a regimental band, what should they do, and how do they identify themselves to you?
Okay, they can email me at forcek, F-O-R-C-E-K, at USMMA.edu. They can call my office, or I'll give you my cell phone, because if they want to call me, you can always get me. It's 845-709-7436.
Okay. All right.
And I'll be glad to talk to them, and we want them here. I mean, we want musicians in this school. It means see, the difference at Kings Point is simple. Not only is the graduation of better opportunities for people, no question about that in my mind, all the opportunities out there that people have choices, but in music, they are going to be needed here. That's the difference. When you have professional musicians doing the job, you're not needed. But these students know they got to be those professional musicians, one way or the other. And that's what makes Kings Point so unique. This band is just spectacular that way. And the leadership of the band is the best. I mean, yes, we're demanding, but anything worthwhile in life is going to have demands.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Sir, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for sharing with us about the band, and hopefully we'll generate some more interest. All right, and that concludes this edition of Kings Point Spotlight. For all of us in admissions, I'm Lieutenant Tyrone Broxton. Until next time, acta non verba, and go Mariners.